Hello? It says there's audio now, so hello everybody. I was just turning my phone on to do not disturb. It is Tuesday. It is August 23rd. The most recent Unknown Gaming podcast episode went up on, I believe, either Saturday or Sunday. I can go to Anchor and figure that out for you. Anchor.fm or FM, not film. Ignore me. I haven't even signed in because I've recently booted Peppermint on this PC. So there's Peppermint and Spiral running on the computers behind me. The most recent episode went out on August 20th, so 3 days ago. The most recent episode went out, and I kind of wanted to make some clerical points on it. Um, I don't even remember what I said, but I feel like I had some contrarian points of like they shouldn't do it because it makes making a game significantly harder if you're developing it on a system, say the Nintendo Switch, uh, as compared to a computer. But it is still a way for someone to get into game design. Um, However, I think one thing I need to mention is the difference between I think it's like Game Designer Garage or something like that. It's a game engine that was designed specifically for the Switch for learning game dev and design, and you can still publish them on PC. So I think it's Game Builder Garage is the actual name. Um, the clerical or the difference is, I shouldn't say the clerical difference, but the difference is uh, RPG Maker MV has had releases on PC. Uh, I would say PS4, Nintendo Switch. I'm saying PC because it's literally on Steam. Um, and it's designed to make games with like a point and click scripting tool. See that's why I was giving RPG Maker a hard time was because I found it so unintuitive to use the engine. As you guys could probably see by the initial, or like if you guys actually go and watch the stream again, if it's still up when you're watching this, I had a lot of issue, and you can hear it in the audio. I'm going, what? How do I do this thing? Instead of like, so I use it. I prefer a keyboard and mouse when designing my games, not a controller. So I might have a little bias, um, but the um, the use of controllers is just not all that great to me. Like having controller integration for like gamepads and stuff is probably by far the best thing you can do in a game engine. It makes mapping the games a lot, like it saves a lot of time so you don't have to individually map everything. Like Unreal, when you make a game, it has controller support built in by default, right? So let me turn up my mic a little bit, just a little bit there. I don't know how loud this is gonna be, but I just turned up my mic on Peppermint. So, um, I'm gonna quickly do this real quick. I was doing some research on Robert Yates Racing because I couldn't remember anything about it. I need to go to my channel. Hold on. My channel. I'm exhausted, guys. Um um okay, so it sounds pretty good. Um Let me move this away. Hold on. It's taking a while. Uh pa, 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 pa. but no, like having that controller integration built in, which is something that RPG Maker and Unreal Engine both have. They have controller support baked in on their templates. RPG Maker has it built in by default. It's odd, but there is controller support not only for MZ but MV as well. Um, I could test it by literally prototyping something and then, you know, I I don't know how I would show that it is being mapped to a controller, but it is a very weird controller setup. Because like you use the face buttons instead of the start and select on your Xbox controller. It's odd, but you know, something else I do want to mention about it is like, um, and I will say, if you can't, if you don't have a PC that's up to spec and you have like a PS4, PS5, or a Nintendo Switch, RPG Maker MV would probably be a good choice if you want to learn how to use RPG Maker. Or if you want to go earlier, you can, because they have, I believe, all the way up from RPG Maker. I think it's 2000. I have to log into Steam to find out, don't I? And I'm not logged into Steam on this computer, so it'll be a few minutes and I'll figure it out. Sorry. It's gonna take a minute or so. Why didn't I just refresh the mailbox? And not the actual page. No, I wanted this. Because I do want to actually make sure like that. Let's go to the store and I can search it real quick. I do actually want to make sure I'm spouting the correct information. So you've got RPG Maker MZ, MV, XP, 2003, VX Ace, 2000 is on here, and RPG Maker VX, which, okay, what's the difference between VX and VX Ace? I quite honestly do not remember. So I do apologize for being like a noob when it comes to that, but I don't remember. Um, but I've already got MZ, I've got MV, I can safely say I've got VX Ace all the way up to M MZ, the most recent release uh, of the engine. Um, it's a lot of fun to use. It's like very easy to use. So if you do want to get into game design, like level design specifically, it's got a bunch of tools you can use. I have yet to explore level design with it, so I do apologize for like not knowing that, but knowing that side very well. So, um, but yeah, like my first games were made in RPG Maker VX Ace Lite. And I will talk about them today. Actually, I want to just talk about them for a little bit. We're gonna sign in. I don't remember any, like, I don't remember a password for my game jolt, but I do, like, I think I have it linked with my social media. So I'm gonna go to my games here. Yeah, if we go all the way back to the first few games, so this one was made, I believe in VX Ace Lite. Oh no. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, this makes sense now. Um okay. So about 5 years ago, I started up the updates to part 1 are finished and will be coming. That should be 2 words. In a few weeks to tide people over until the release of DH2 Revival and Great War. I'm going to start updating that very soon. That was the last update to the game. I'm guessing it was, let's see, hover over December 5th. So I was gonna probably release it. When did this? Over December 25th. So yes, I did actually release an updated version. So basically, what I remember is the initial release had different sprites, very sporadic name placement. Enemies added. I added a few enemies and I removed a few. I don't remember which ones I removed, but I do remember going through that process, and that was definitely one of those things. I wish I'd have written everything down because canonically, like, I don't know if I've ever referenced those games since they've come out. To be truthful with you. Um, I've referenced the games that haven't come out. I've referenced events in those games, whether it's through characters or events, uh, like in a flashback. So in this current project, which I just need to finish up and test, um, I will I will put it this way: there is a flashback, um, that is a reference to a long forgotten title that I have not finished. But like at that time, I could tell you exactly what my plans were. My plans were to finish. My plans were to finish the game that I was currently working on, which would have been DH2 or DH1 Part 2. I always referred to it as DH2. And then go on to DH Great War, which had a different code name. However, where is it? I think I unlisted it. Yeah, I enlisted the project. And the last update to it was when? 5 years ago. 5 years ago, almost exactly. Almost 5 years ago, exactly. It would be 5 years and 3 days. Um, and the reason I just quit working on the project was because I was like, there's no way I'm going to make progress with this. I have no experience with 3D models, you know, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna quit working on it because I had no idea how to rig and animate a 3D character. Because this was when Adobe Fuse and I believe it was called Mixamo, uh, could work together with Unreal Engine 4, and I believe at this time it was between 4.15 and 4.17 in that time frame. I think I was working on like 4.16. As I would reference in the script, I would put the game information in the script somewhere, whether it was in the header or the footer. Um, it was a very odd time. It was a very, very on time because I was trying to learn a new engine. I was trying to learn with the limited time that I had at the time and the limited knowledge of programming and how that actually worked. I didn't make it very far in learning about Unreal Engine. And then it was just my incompetence to make large scale games. I will say I was largely incompetent when it came to making a game in Unreal Engine. Um, but as you guys can see, by going to Game Jolt, you guys can find the profile and see everything that I have worked on over the years. So if we go, I wonder, library, and we can go to my games. Um, there are a few games that I, released over the last year. So, I remember that game. I remember my first attempt at a racing game. It was terrible. And this was at a time I loved to overwork myself with like project work, and I would get nowhere. I wish I was joking. I would get nowhere, and then I would announce the project was in development, and I never finished it, and I felt really bad because I was trying to figure out like the best way to do like snowy regions, like different precept types, and then I was gonna work on the lap counter. So I will see if I can ever get that. I know there's a racing prototype I've been working on, so I will I will work on that and see if I could actually incorporate. Oh, and for people that are wondering, there's a vacuum uh, right behind me. Let me. Yeah, no. Here's my vacuum. I'm trying not to lift it up too much. I'm exhausted, so um. But yeah, I did a bunch of project work like back in the day, and it was like I found myself stretching myself way too thin. So yeah, um, it's one of those things like I learned a lot during that time. Like, don't stretch yourself thin. Don't be afraid to learn something new. Um, and maybe you want to go to school for programming, so you learn how to program something. And I did eventually, and I kept working on stuff throughout high school. Or not, like not high school, college. God dang it, I'm so tired. But I did work on stuff throughout, the remainder of my high school. Uh, in 2018, I started a project that is known as Project Nightmare that basically has had its development halted for the last few years. Um, you know, and that was a fun little project because I got farther on that project than I did anything else. I had a title screen, I had character movement, I had a semi-functioning health bar. Well, no, I had a functioning health bar. It just wouldn't save the values. It wouldn't save the values between levels. I had semi-functioning AI. I had some weird issue with uh I can't think of it. The movement animation, not like the walking, but the other action animation. So it was one of those things. The AI worked. My level design is not all that great. Um so like if you go find the prototype, which there are two prototype builds out there that are publicly available to to play. But I gotta log into itch because again, this is a fresh install of Peppermint Linux. Let me see if I can find it. Project Nightmare, which has a 64-bit Windows and Linux release. It is currently in its prototyping phase. It was initially published on May 13th and updated on June 20th. The actual description is, quote, it is still early in development project. I would like some feedback on the game so far. It doesn't look or function the best. The save functionality, animation, saving, coin counter, and health is still a work in progress. So actually, at some point last year, I made it kind of a goal to go in and rework the blueprint code that I already had. However, I have to, re-download the project source, which I have it on GitHub uh, as a reference point, and it's that's the thing. I always will say you have a code repository, whether it's Unreal, Unity, or just vanilla language, Node, or I should say JavaScript, not just Node, C Sharp, C++, Rust, whatever. Whatever you're making your project in, always have a repository that is available to you at all times. Keep that up to date, but do not immediately push to your main branch. So for me, I do at least 2 branches. I do, the main branch and then a feature branch, or as I would call it, the in-dev branch. With Project Maze Escape, I did 3 branches. I did main, experimental, and win release. Uh, I did win release because I was unsure of how Mono actually packaged its executable. Because if you build something in, let's say, VS Code, it will build for the platform that you're using, or whatever platform you really have configured. Which for me, I usually have the default, which would be, Unix. I think it's Unix GNU, maybe. I can double check here. Visual Studio Code. And people say, well, why are you using like Mono? Because I believe I originally started it with uh, cross-platform development in mind. So if I just start a new file here, oh, I'm not signed in. Oh, god dang it! Sign in and turn on. Sign in with GitHub. Open. Sorry, I am not set up because I have not had a full day to just sit down and set this up because I literally started I did the replacing Windows with Linux the other night. I've just been so busy because I started a new job, which I'm enjoying. I enjoy my new job so far. Um, so now I'm literally going through and making sure everything works. Oh no, is this the Flatpak? Is it angry? Okay. No, it has the Salesforce stuff, so I don't have to worry about that if I want to work with Salesforce. But in C++, it'll build an executable for Linux, and then you have to do a translation for Windows, or you could use I believe you can use CMake or a Makefile and you could do it that way. But I always do, like, for C++ projects, I do a separate branch for specifically Windows releases. I don't think that's the smartest thing to do. I could just create a make file and do it that way, but yeah. So Mono itself actually does build the executable because I think it does .NET Core, which allows for cross-platform development by default. So it runs on Windows and Linux. I could not test if it runs on a Mac because I don't have a Mac. So, like, there are certain things I don't know, like the limitations of .NET Core, and I will continue to study up on it because it is a pretty popular framework. Not not C like not just C sharp as a language, but .NET Core as a whole. I will never refer to it as .NET because there's differences. You can't refer to just .NET as .NET because there are two branches. There's .NET Framework and there's .NET Core. .NET Framework hasn't been actively developed on since 2019, so that would have been my second year in college. And .NET Core is something that's actively getting updates pretty frequently. So, um, I again, I can't stress it enough. If you're going to use an IDE, if you're on Windows, you can use VS Code. You can use whatever IDE you want. But I think some of the most popular ones are VS Code, Visual Studio, maybe JetBrains. I haven't used JetBrains. Um, but like I've seen VS Code being used a lot. So go ahead and use that one. And but with that being said, I think we're gonna end this live stream. So we'll talk to you guys later.